purposes individual benefit. Ideal politics talks of some ideals. Happiness and the purposes individual benefit. In the political parties, our political leaders follow the above mentioned policies. Their politics will be called value-based politics. In today India, the works for the national benefit, secularism, welfare, etc. And the main themes for the value-based politics for this is negligence regarding the value-based politics is generally avoided. To acquire power, the political parties and political leaders don't mind ignoring the values politics, corruption, forceful politics, and the presence of force, money, and the crime in politics are really harming the whole political systems. Money and crime in politics are really harming the whole political system. Crime in politics are really harming the whole political system. The need of the hours is we need young, dynamics, and motivated leaders in our political systems. The need of our is we need young, dynamic, and motivated leaders in our political systems. Well-educated youth can actually be in grassroots level. The need of our is we need young, dynamic, and motivated leaders. Young, dynamic, and motivated leaders. Well-educated youth can actually be in grassroots level. Well-educated youth can actually bring a grassroots level changes in the Indian politics. High level of priority is transparency. We need young, dynamic, and motivated leaders in our political systems. Well-educated youth can actually bring grassroots level politics. Student youth until elections apply 20 lakhs every years, 2 years, 20 lakhs government jobs, 10 lakhs ward member, more than 10 lakhs ward members, 10 lakhs, 2 lakhs councillors, good salary, and 10 lakhs above sarpanch, naib sarpanch, and samiti member post, only 50 rupees. So apply and save your career. You get wedding. Distinction between the cabinet secretary and the prime secretary. The function supervise and coordinate career function of the which constitute the cabinet secretariat. Prime Minister being in charge of the cabinet, the entire government activity comes under the preview of these organizations. The government activity, this organization, contribute to the enhancement of the power of the Prime Minister. They circulate common papers among ministers for effective decision making. Circulate governmental papers among ministers. It convey the directive of the cabinet or the prime ministers on administration and allied matters. It coordinated among the cabinet committee. Cabinet committee coordinated. Coordination, keep coordination. It is essentially a secretariat to aid. It is essentially a secretariat to aid and advise the cabinet. Secretary to aid and advise cabinet. And through to the prime minister, president, parliament, or various ministers of the central secretariat. President, parliament, and various ministers. Essentially, secretary to aid and advise the cabinet and to the prime ministers. It is essential and secretary to aid and advise the cabinet and through it to the prime minister, president, parliament, and various ministers of the central secretariat. Cabinet. Prime Minister, President, and Parliament, and the various ministers of the Central Secretary. Prime Minister Secretary is an extra constitutional body that creates assists the Prime Minister in discharging his every growing functions. In the Secretary, the Prime Minister takes the aid. In the Secretary is meant to objectively analyze and legally processes the advice. The role and significance of the Cabinet Secretary can be accessed only in the context of the role which Cabinet and Prime Minister play in a parliamentary democracy. External body that creates assist the Prime Minister discharging his ever-growing function. Prime Minister का जो secretary, secretariat, the Prime Minister takes the aid and advice from his personal secretariat, expert and staff members. The Prime Minister secretariat is meant to objectivity, analyze and legally basis. The advice is tendered by the Prime Minister. The role of significant of the Cabinet Secretary can not be accessed only in the context of the role which the Cabinet and Prime Minister play in a parliamentary democracy. Objectively analyze legalized process, the advice tendered by the Prime Minister. Role and significance of the Cabinet Secretary can be accessed only in the context of role to play in a parliamentary democracy. As the power has already shifted from the Parliament to Cabinet, the Cabinet Secretariat becomes the norm center of the government. Parliament to Cabinet becomes the norm center of the government. At the same time, the trend is towards Prime Minister government. Prime Minister Office PMO, as which body is more important, has shifted from one Prime Ministers. Actually, Prime Minister Office and the Prime Minister Secretariat and Cabinet Secretaries. These are the roles. Minimum program. What are the three demands? Making Uttarakhand separate hill state in India. Why? In the border area of the Uttar Pradesh, it is namely Nainital, Almora, Pithoragarh, Pauri Gharwal, Chamoli, Tehri Gharwal, Dehradun, Uttarakashi. Commonly demand a separate state from them, strengthening their demand from 1991. This demand for the five new state Uttarakhand is from these hilly districts, which have their separate custom and traditions than the rest of the state. Uttar Pradesh, eight districts namely Nainital, Almora, Pithoragarh, Pauri Gharwal, Chamoli, Tehri. Demanded separate from the strengthening the demand from 1991. Those hilly districts which have their separate custom and traditions, Uttarakhand is from these hilly districts. Explain public interest litigation. Actually, public interest litigation popular known as the PIL. PIL, PIL, PIL. Who cannot file public interest litigations, popularly known as PIL, known as a PIL, may be defined as the litigation in the interest of the nebulous entity. Define the litigation in the interest. The general public prior to 1980 party could personally knock at the doors of justice and seek remedy for his grievance. Other person who was not personally affected could not knock at the doors of justice on behalf of the victim of the aggrieved party. Splendid efforts of the Justice P.N. Bhagavati and Justice B.R. Krishna. PL can be filed by the citizen of India or any consumer groups or social action groups for seeking remedy. Seeking remedy in all cases where the interest of general public or a section of public are its sake. PL democratize the judiciary through PL. Here, democratic is the judiciary. The Supreme Court has vastly expanded the scope of fundamental rights by liberally interpreting Article